Hello, 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 hello. It's good to see you. Say hello.
And welcome to the Huskies Hockey Podcast. Summer podcasts, we always like to change it up around here. So this is Andrew taking the host chair tonight. Weldie, the usual host of this show, he's relegated to color commentary.
You are correct, sir.
My Ed McMahon to my Johnny Carson. We're already dating our references.
Yep, exactly. We're starting off hot with the definitely up-to-date references when it comes to late night hosts. So
we're staying on brand. That we don't let our vast listenership down with things like that. So
I
summer pods
really going to kind of confuse our listeners too, where we still have, Clara, that opening is how many years old now. And then boom, we're coming out with your dulcet tones and summer pods. I'm liking it. It feels good.
Yeah. I mean, it's also on brand for us to have the major twist right away. Like we have no other plot twist other than 5 seconds in. It took Dan Jacobson a good 10 seconds there to get reacquainted with. He was expecting the dulcet tones of Weldie, but he got me instead in the host chair. You're still going to hear plenty out of Weldie tonight, we both this one kind of snuck up on us. We like to do one a month in the summer, and neither of us had reached out to the other to do that until the last day of June. So we wanted to sneak one in before the calendar flipped.
Because it's a June podcast. We can't have a June podcast on July 1st, even though it'll be released.
It breaks
on
the
July
rules.
1st, but
it breaks the rules. Well, if we hurry, I can put it out tonight. So even with our time change.
Yeah, I had a camping trip in, around the Taylor Falls area, and we got hail on our tent. So that wasn't great. I went up to Duluth for a weekend, went to see Weird Al for the second time. Just as delightful, just as fun. Had floor tickets at Amsoil, and I wore my St. Cloud State hat. And promptly gave a middle finger to all their Hobie banners up there and their championship banners. So I don't know if my dad appreciated that, but you gotta do what you gotta do when you're down there in the belly of the beast.
See, that would make it. You've got to be the only St. Cloud State hockey fan to leave Amsoil Arena happy in the last 4 years. What's the last time they've won there in Amsoil? Because it's been like 10 games. So. A rare treat for you to enjoy Amsoil
men or women
without the frustration of like an overtime loss, like we seem to get up there with some strange frequency. But we've got plenty to talk about. We're not lacking news. We haven't reached this true summer abyss on the hockey front, as it turns out. Nick Oliver, hitting the ground running, taking this job, and with all of the turnover based on large amount of graduating players, but then obviously with Larson news, him bolting to the U of M, taking 3 of his players with him, 3 of his Huskies with him. This roster is going to be, Oliver was tasked with having to remake this roster, and he's still in the process of doing that. Since our last show in late May, we've got a couple of new names to discuss, filling this roster out kind of on the fly here. Even today, June 30th, we've got a new Husky entering the fold in Charlie Lurie. Maybe we'll start there. Maybe we'll go backwards chronologically. Lurie forward from Minnetonka, transfers over from Mankato. His first year at NCAA was with Omaha. Token appearances with them. I mean, not many points. The stat line's not going to wow you, but a guy that had a good high school career, decent junior career as well. He was in Fargo the year before Oliver took over there in his 1 year as head coach of the Force. I thought perhaps that could have been when I saw his sort of back of the baseball card career line, I thought, ooh, maybe that's a former Oliver guy in Fargo, but he would have missed him just by a year. But he's gonna fill in on a depth role, you'd figure, with the Huskies coming over from Mankato. So obviously he's a Minnesota kid, but he's also has experience in the conference with his time at Omaha. So we can slot him into the mix sort of similarly, I guess, with forward depth. Adam Vigfusson, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, out of the MJHL. A very undersized kid, 5'8", 5'9", somewhere in that range, but heart makes up for it. He's one of these great stories. His team, the Manitoba Junior Hockey League, ends up winning the Memorial Cup version of those leagues. I don't know if it is called the Memorial Cup as it is with CHL leagues when we're talking about the lower junior level in Canadian juniors, but MVP sort of their run to the championship there, and sort of use that as a springboard to get noticed. I don't know if college was really even on his radar, if NCAA was on his radar, but turned some heads and parlayed that into a commitment with St. Cloud State. And again, I don't think he's a guy that's going to necessarily be top line producer for St. Cloud, but he can be a good, again, like a good clubhouse character guy that, you like to have around. Just reading about him, it might be more of the story that I'm getting enchanted by, more so than the on-ice skill. Again, I haven't watched a ton of his play other than some highlights here and there, but I like the story, and I feel like those kind of guys don't exactly grow on trees, high character guys like that. So, and he even got an invite to Winnipeg's pro camp here. So those are guys that I would categorize as depth forwards for the Huskies. We'll take these kind of position by position because we've got one of each, a couple of forwards, and then one defense, one goaltender in this batch here. So
I'm really excited for Vigfusson. I'm going to call him Vigfusson.
We'll find out. We'll find out how that's pronounced. I'm sure
we'll find out. But anytime I see like somebody undersized kind of coming in, and just looking, and he puts up points. Just like you said, I just looked it up here. The Centennial Cup is the Junior A cup that Vigfusson's team won. Niverville.
It sounds right. Again, we're probably
the Niverville Nighthawks.
That sounds good. We're going with it.
So we'll go with it. So, but anytime you got the undersized, I'm not a big size matters everything in hockey. I know some like the old guard or the old hats. Like I just don't believe the myth of you have to be a certain size to play in the NHL or to play anything like that. And I think like Martin St. Louis proved that. If you've got your ability and if you're elusive, I'm all in favor of some skill guys. Maybe just even if you get some spots in there, if he can be kind of a dangerous wild card for Oliver, I'm all for it. So I'm when this one kind of crossed my radar a little bit, I was like, ooh, okay, all right, that's I like that idea. So we'll see what transpires from that.
Yeah, just last 2 years for Niverville, I think we'll go with 61 points. This past year, 62. The year before, captain this last year, and obviously led them to the Centennial Cup Championship. Thank you for the info on that. He'll be turning 21 here in about a month to 6 weeks. We might touch on that. The NCAA eligibility, which we touched on last show, has been codified since then. it was a bit of a tweak in the original plan, and it seems to have pleased the hockey community among NCAA coaches, at least. The 5-and-5 plan, as it's been sometimes termed, was originally proposed to start the clock at 18. That's been bumped up 1 year, bumped back, I suppose, to 19. The clock starts either the earlier of the 2 points of high school graduation or 19 years old. So 24 would be in theory, the oldest that you can be at the NCAA level, which is roughly 25 is what it was before. So you're shaving off a year. You're making NCAA hockey a little bit younger as a result of this. But I think it was a good compromise that hockey was able to get the clock starting a little bit later than it was originally proposed. But so a guy like Vigfusson, who's coming in at 21, he's going to have, by my math, and check me if I'm wrong on this, but he might have 3 years of eligibility. Because I think that clock starts at September 1st. Whenever, if you turn 19 prior to September 1st, then the clock is started. If you turn 19 after September 1st in the calendar year, then it would start the year following that. So
that
by my
logic makes sense. In practice, though, who knows with the NCAA at this point when exactly everything's going to fall. So we'll just have to trust the athletic department when it comes out, when they list the year. If he's listed as sophomore or junior now, if they're going to have 5 with graduating, I wonder, like, how are they going to do all the stats for all these sites? Like that Woden, I think, is going to have a big ol' headache on his hands, when it comes to how he's going to record all these stats for now this change of the 5th years.
And I wonder too, if you're Vigfusson, he hasn't had any NCAA, he hasn't been in college. I think you'd still list him as a freshman, but maybe just his last year of eligibility would be his junior year. I don't know if it's not like it really matters, but from a media guide standpoint, how they're listed or how they're designated at what year they are, we might just have to be more cognizant.
We can't have a junior not there on senior night if he's there.
That's what I mean. It really scrambles.
Is it graduate night
up.
now? Like, we got to get Holly on now.
Au revoir ask her. Night.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of these guys are from Canada, so I mean, French is going to be more a part of their culture than it is here in the U.S. So maybe we do au revoir night, bidding them a fond farewell. But maybe it's like, instead of like, you list the guys in the media guide based on remaining eligibility, because like you said, senior, junior, that doesn't mean anything anymore. Because that would used to indicate how much they have put in
so
college
it should be
and
like
how
a
much
countdown.
they have left. Right.
Eligibility remaining. Now it's all going to be 4, 3, 2, 1.
Like freshman. So Vigfusson's a freshman 3. It means he's got 3 years.
Man, just make everything way more confusing.
I wish I only did a freshman 3, by the way, instead of freshman 50 back in my day.
Thanks, Garvey. Those damn hamburgers got me again.
Yeah. And I don't know how one thing I'm unsure about with this NCAA stuff is what happens to the guys that have been playing NCAA. Like, are they grandfathered in? So if someone, for instance, started as a 21-year-old freshman, which was a fairly common thing, common enough for Don Lucia to bark about it.
After making his career of it.
And then being the commissioner of a league that sort of thrives on that, but it's neither here nor there.
What a journey for the Don.
It's been quite the journey. It's coming full circle for him. But so what happens with someone like that who had obviously no knowledge that this rule is going to be changed 3 years after they started their college career? So if someone was 21 as a freshman 3 years ago, are they done? Are they out of eligibility? Are they being grandfathered in? So I need some more clarification on that. If you have any clarification, please let me know. I'm like the Phil Hartman, the unfrozen caveman lawyer. Like this world confuses and frightens me. I need like someone to walk me through it. Trying to find out like CHL eligibility if you turn
Our references
20.
are so good.
I CHL eligibility was something that I didn't really need a good working knowledge of as an NCAA hockey fan, but now I kind of do, because as some of the guys that we're about to talk about, well, we did talk about Oljanski's last month, and he's sort of in the similar boat with Hayden Paupanekis, who's coming in. I would say of the four guys that we're mentioning, he headlines this group, a Montreal draft pick, drafted last year. So Oljanski's was an Anaheim draft pick that Oliver snagged. So he's picking up some drafted players here. Paupanekis in Canadian juniors. I mean, he's 19. He's already got 3 full seasons of CHL experience. He actually had 1 game played in the 22-23 season, so count that parts of 4 seasons, putting that in scare quotes, because the other 3 seasons have been fairly complete seasons, just the 1 game for that 4th season. But so that's fairly experienced for a CHL player. Again, based on my working knowledge, which might very well be wrong, I think he is eligible to play another year in Canadian juniors up there. He turns 20 in February. So he still is 19. He'll be 19 for a while. But I would assume he's going to come in based on the amount of experience he has at the CHL level already. The fact that he's a drafted player, the fact of it is the Wild West. You never know until you bring him into campus, they could leave at any moment. I think that you don't want to let this one get by. We're talking, this is why I'm so excited about Paupanekis. It's not often that you get 6'5" centers to feature on your roster. And yeah, sizes and everything, but he's been able to produce some impressive seasons at the WHL level.
And what I'm really excited about is that, obviously I haven't seen him. I don't have any CHL pass or insider information. I've got elite prospects like everybody else. But what anytime you're talking about height, the big thing that I'm always scared of is their skating ability. You can't teach height, but, sometimes they're just kind of lumbering around out there and just kind of haphazard when it comes to it. But everything that I'm reading about him is that he's, you're kind of a solid 2-way center that can be put out in all situations, excels at skating with a lot of flexibility in his skating ability. And that's, for someone 6'5" who can skate like the wind, that is, I know I just raved about how much I love undersized players, but hey, you know what? It's, there's obviously places for the 6'5" with the great skating ability. Any type of that great skating ability, I'm all for. So that's what really intrigues me about that. When I saw that as a pickup, I was pretty excited. That's a major. That, and we talked a little bit, I believe, with Carson Pilgrim, his transfer. I mean, I think Oliver's doing some work for, especially when he's kind of got a freebie kind of a year with so much chaos that has happened over the past couple of months.
Yeah, indeed, the center position, and I had this opinion. So our last show, I believe we touched on the fact, again, time is a flat circle. Having difficulty remembering last week, much less last month.
It's more like a big ball of wibbly wobbly, timey wimey.
I'm not touching that. Not touching that big wobbly ball that you're putting out there. But so Werner Miettinen leaving, which prior to that, I was like really excited about centers with Pilgrim's addition. We've got William Ulrich coming from Lake State. We know and seen good things from Nolan Road last year. He'd be the only in-house center to return now that Miettinen is gone. Then you have like the depth guy like Aiden Welch, who we saw a little bit of last year. He could be an insurance policy. Now you're bringing in a guy like Paupanekis, who seems to not just be like a depth guy. He's not in the Aiden Welch mold. He's not even in the Adam Vigfusson mold. interestingly, Vigfusson and Paupanekis, and I don't want to have to say those names back to back too often, but
Jason
I might have to.
I somehow I hope they connect on a goal.
We've got Daryl Ziljanskis as well. I mean, this roster with these names, I mean, Thor Bufflin's like easy at this point with some of these mouthfuls. But Vigfusson and Paupanekis both Winnipeg area kids. Vigfusson, I guess, from more of the suburbs or rural Winnipeg, if there is such a thing. Paupanekis is born and raised in Winnipeg. So interesting that I didn't have that as like an area that Oliver was especially in tune to recruiting wise, but wherever he gets them, I'm for it. If we've got the kind of potential that I see, especially with Paupanekis, again, with drafted players, I mean, that's not everything, especially like how that translates from the CHL to the NCAA level. Is an experiment that's in progress. We still don't have enough data to make like solidly informed projections based on where one guy's WHL stats, how are they going to translate to NCAA. So I don't expect Paupanekis to become star status here and get first team at CHC this year. But I think he's got a chance to not just be, an interesting prospect. I think he could, if guys like Rode and Ernest last year developed into players that by the end of the year were some of the more dynamic players on roster, I don't think that that's out of the question for a guy like Paupanekis, especially with that size and how that translates. We're talking like Vigfusson being undersized, and you plug that into a league like the NCHC. It's hard for me to project that as like immediate splash success. Paupanekis, though, on the other hand, with the physicality and size that this league, the best teams of this league offer, I do think that a player of that mold could be well suited to fit in quite well in the NCHC, and really excited to see the last of the recruits here. Just kind of briefly touching this, Mason McElroy, he'll be the third goaltender on roster. Got him from Fairbanks in the NAHL. It seems like he's going to slot into the James Gray third goaltender role, which means he might not see any action this year. He might see some token action. Gray only got bits and pieces of a couple of games last year, and that's mostly because Berzins and Shostak were competing and kind of taking turns at who was more the number one goalie. There really wasn't no number one last year. It was always like who's not 1A and who's 1B. Kind of took turns. Shostak had some injury concerns as well, so not much action for James Gray last year. And again, the only reason that we might see some extended Mason McElroy time next year is if there's some injuries with either Berzins or Shostak. But you need a third goaltender. They are a necessity. You can't live without them. So he is on roster as well as that all-important kind of the e-bug version in college hockey. Except you're just always on roster. You're the permanent emergency. Goaltender.
You're the person there staying out late after practice while the first line still gets a couple extra rips at one-timers.
Yeah, we're everyone's trying their best shootout moves against Mason McElroy. So anything else? I don't know if you touched on Lurie as much, but any of these other four newcomers, any final words about either of those?
No, I mean, I kind of said my piece about the two I'm really excited about. Obviously, extra insurance and as e-bug type role, always good. But when we're looking at the center position, I'm just happy we got some center depth and we got some more center experience, and I think that. I've said this many times on the podcast before is, you win down the middle. I mean, having solid centers in your first, second, especially third line too, in this league, that's where you make your hay in the NCHC. And then, so I like how this roster is being built out like that. And if that, I think that's going to translate very well. I think it's going to translate better than people expect here this season. Maybe that's quite a little bit of bias. It's going to be really interesting once all the preseason polls come out and what they're, or what the coach is and what everything's going to say. Or I think this could be a year, Oliver coach of the year, because everyone's going to expect him to be, ninth place in the NCHC, and he ends up, getting fourth or something like that. It's it's kind of a wild card the season here for the Huskies, and I'm really excited about it. It's going to be tough, obviously, a lot of competition, but it's something I'm really excited for a lot of these new recruits coming in from what I've read. Again, haven't seen a lot of them, but I'm excited to see a lot more of them here this season.
And we're not quite done yet. Mick Hatton had an article that dropped today that had some speculation on the roster as it's shaping up. And I mean, that was like our first hint about this Charlie Lurie. Like that had not been reported at all. Since been confirmed by Sydney Wolfe that he's aboard. He's in the fold.
We need like a Sydney Wolfe breaking news sounder. I think that should be the next.
I could probably make that. Yeah, we can do that. Like, I know K-Fan does the Hungry Like the Wolf sounder. They use so maybe something different. Not
there's
just
got to be
there's
got to be some kind of howl too.
And well, it's not that I'm not as wary or hesitant to use licensed music. I would use the Duran Duran sounder if I wanted to, but that wouldn't scare me off at least. But just to have something a little different. Is there any other songs that use Werewolves in London? Maybe some Warren Zevon?
Yeah.
We're willing to take some suggestions from our listeners. Wolf songs, go.
All I'm thinking of is 30 Rock with Werewolf Bar Mitzvah. That's
not a reference that I get.
Tracy Jordan. Werewolf Bar Mitzvah, spooky, scaredy. It's the watch the show. At least watch that clip. I don't know how much I want to actually get into.
Is it a song or is it just a bit?
It's a song,
thinking I need something
but it's a
musical.
Bit. Yeah, it's.
I'll check it out.
Yeah, it's really funny. And it's like a 3-second clip from 30 Rock.
I will have to look. Yeah,
at least that's a somewhat up to date reference.
Yeah, we've got the summer here. I can do some put aside some time for a couple of new sounders. That might be a fun project to do.
But when you were saying Duran Duran, I immediately thought of actually A View to a Kill. And I was just thinking, I don't know if there's a bigger gap between great Bond song and terrible Bond movie as much as there is from A View to a Kill. Because I think A View to a Kill is a great Bond theme. And God, that movie's just bad.
Now, I feel like I'm more of a fan of the film of Live and Let Die than you are. I wouldn't say that that's as... Because I still think Live and Let Die is the best Bond theme song. But I don't think the gap between the quality of the theme song...
I agree.
Because I still think the movie's good.
The movie's pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question. No. You might be right. You might be right on that one.
Yeah.
We just needed more... We needed the cello case... We need more of those kind of scenes in View to a Kill. That's the one of the downhill skiing.
Nope.
Which one am I thinking of?
That's Living Daylights.
I always get those.
Which is
that's correct.
So the song for the living, which is an amazing Bond theme and a really underrated Bond movie. People sleep on the Living Daylights. I like the Living.
See, I get those mixed up. So
A View to a Kill was Christopher Walken.
And that was Moore's last one.
Yes.
And whereas Living Daylights was Dalton's first one.
Dalton's first one.
Okay. I think they were a year or two apart, and I always get them mixed up, even though they're quite different. My apologies.
My apologies to Dalton.
It's been a couple of weeks, a long couple of weeks here. So Hatton had he had a table of players that are expected to come. There was some notable omissions. I think there might be some question of international players with some visa issues. Just didn't want to make those like official as of yet. So I just had the back of the napkin math here, including all the guys that we think are going to come in. Usually they make these roster, the roster will be official by August-ish, basically when practices start. And that article that had today, it was kind of front loaded. This was the last little bit that he included. It was front loaded with the updates with the arena upgrade, which is going to impact practices. They're not going to be able to practice at the Herb until that project is done, which best case scenario would be late September. So they're going to have to do some practicing over at the MAC. It sounded like they're also going to have to do some practicing over at Burdick's Arena in Sartell. So it's going to be an unusual and probably not very ideal situation.
I wish they would use Sauk Rapids just for the fact of like that arena and have like just the players like shivering on the ice at the Sauk Rapids.
It doesn't get that cold in August.
Oh, if that arena, probably. If there's any arena that it gets that cold, it would be the Sauk Rapids arena.
That's not a bad idea to do like a tour of St. Cloud, like a goodwill tour. Like we'll come to Sauk Rapids for a practice. We'll do Sartell.
I remember Motzko's first year. There was the Gopher Caravan, and one of the stops on that caravan was St. Cloud. Like
Gopher hockey had a caravan.
It was Gopher sports.
All athletics.
So it had who was the coach at that time? I don't think it was PJ yet. I think it was.
No, that would have been Mason.
No, 05? It was after. Oh, geez, was it
Mason? Was there until 06.
I thought it was.
Texas
I thought
Tech
it was
game.
What's his name? The snake oil
Brewdad?
salesman.
Yeah, Brewster. That would have been a little
go.
bit later. I think he took over in 07.
But I remember it was him. No, it was Motzko taking over the Gopher position. So anyway,
2018.
Yeah. So it was that caravan, and it had, and I think, I don't know, like some head coaches, basically is like drum up support for like Gopher athletics. So they had head coaches there, and they had like stops, and they had like a central Minnesota tour for one day, and they had stops in like Little Falls and then St. Cloud and then Monticello or something along those lines. I don't know the exact details, but I distinctly remember the fact that Motzko skipped out on the St. Cloud portion of that tour. Didn't come out and face the music, so to speak.
I'm surprised that I missed that. I am in the process of writing the last of the coaching change pieces at Cloud Coverage Hockey at Substack.com. Maybe I'll put that in there if I can find some.
If you can find, I don't know if you'll be able to find a source. Like I think my source didn't go on the record with it. So,
well, yeah, it's interesting, but yeah, just getting back to St. Cloud, like not having a dedicated facility where they normally will kick off their practices is not going to be ideal. Women will start earlier in their season. Obviously, they usually start a couple weeks before. They've actually got an exhibition game scheduled on September 18th or 19th with the Midgie, and that's at a neutral site in Brainerd, I believe. We'll get to that. I'm going off script here. I'll talk about schedule a little bit later, but
we have a script.
Yeah, a very rough script.
Happen?
It's like a script of a Curb Your Enthusiasm episode. It's just a rough bullet point outline.
Because I'm already like 2 drinks in right now. I'm liking this co-host spot. I think I
right.
Need another
right?
drink
Yeah,
here.
I'm kind of sweating, but I hope it's coming off okay to Dan Jacobson at least. He's our main ombudsman of this show. He lets us know how it's playing public. So let us know.
Anybody else also feedback, reviews?
I mean, this is a throwback to the very beginning of the podcast back in 2016, because I hosted that first year basically.
You did.
And then I handed off the reins when we rebooted it. That's really where we jumped the shark, I think. the reboot.
I don't know. I think the whiskey episode is probably where we jump the shark.
It's very Well, we tried to jump the shark. We were a little too drunk to jump it, but we kind of crashed and burned.
Too drunk to jump anything. What were you drinking, by the way? You had some kind of mixed fanciness over there.
Well, yeah. I mean, again, I wasn't planning on doing
Spagliato with some prosecco in it.
I mean, I usually do a seltzer or even a beer during these, but I didn't have any on hand, so I've got actually an old fashioned brandy. I don't.
You went brandy.
Dare step on your. I don't dare step on your whiskey territory here on the show. So I've got brandy old fashioned here. But what do you got? We didn't do the what are you drinking bit today.
We didn't. I almost, because I was talking about how I almost was going to go with a gin martini, because we were talking about how, I was getting back onto gin. But basically, kids wanted to go on a walk and, bedtime, and it's summer, and, et cetera, et cetera. I was time pressed. I wasn't able to have the time to stir up a martini. So I just went with the New Riff single barrel pour, crushed that. And now I've got a Kona Big Wave beer is what I've got right now. Which I don't know. It's all right. I don't know. I think I'm done buying Kona. I don't know. Like, I can't find a good beer anymore. I don't know. Like, my beer tastes have kind of changed a little bit. Like, even like McGolden, I can't really do anymore for some reason, and that's really bizarre. And that was always my go-to, especially summer drinks. I don't know. Oh, I'll find
keep us posted. Beer. Yeah, keep us posted on that. Maybe that's your summer homework. Find a new everyday
drink more beer.
Correct.
Done.
I think she'll be up to the challenge.
Mm-hmm.
So as this roster's kind of coming together, they're going to have to be packing their bags and maybe traveling a little bit to do their workouts once they all get to campus. But just the numbers game, because in this article, Oliver is quoted as saying he still wants like 3 guys, 2 defensemen, 1 forward. And I remember our last show, I was kind of losing count. It is kind of amazing how much turnover there's going to be, or there already has been, and how much difference there's going to be from this coming year's roster from last year. We've got 9 guys.
9 guys.
Just 9 players that suited up for the Huskies last year that are on track. Again, it's not official yet, but are on track to play for the Huskies next year. Patrick Berzins and Jan Shostak, that's the returning goaltenders. The only 2 returning defensemen, Thor Bufflin and Joe Belisle. And of those 2, I mean, Belisle only got into 15 games or so last year. I mean, that's going to be almost a completely renovated unit among the defensive core. Forwards, we've got Thorson, Ernest, and Rode, who kind of all played on the same line for the bulk of last year, and then Jack Ryman and Aiden Welch. And we mentioned Welch just had a couple of appearances last year, we'll say the beginning of the year, and then got injured. So, I mean, not only is that just 9 players on your roster, but if Welch and Belisle are more part-timers. So, I mean, and then you've got the 2 goalies who are kind of in their own separate category. So among the skaters, we really just have, 5 regulars. And of that, it's like Ryman and Bufflin aren't necessarily guys that you key on necessarily. So key returners is really that intact line of Thorson, Ernest, and Rode. Other than that, it's like so much changeover. So in terms of incoming recruits, because we've got the categories of recruits and then transfer additions. We've gone through a couple of these already with the most recent recruits, but among the forwards, you mentioned Carson Pilgrim, late decommit from North Dakota that Oliver is able to scoop up. Vigfusson and Paupanekis, who we've talked about, also guys that have committed since Oliver took the job. Then 3 recruits that Oliver is inheriting from Brett Larson: Zach Shantz, Brock Such, Nathan Brown, all playing in Canadian juniors. Nathan Brown, I think, is the one wild card of those 3. He did sign a amateur tryout with Ottawa's AHL team. I think they're in Belleville. He got in, according to elite prospects, he appeared in one game for Belleville. With the newfangled NCAA rules, that doesn't prohibit him to still come to St. Cloud, him appearing in an AHL game. So I'm penciling him in here, but if there's any guy on this list that doesn't end up coming to St. Cloud, my odds would be on Nathan Brown to be that guy. Among the defense with your committed recruits, we've got Nolan Stevenson, who was a Larson recruit, and then Daryl Zieljanski's, who we mentioned last show, OHLer, who Oliver was able to snag about a month ago. And then Mason McElroy, the goaltender that we just mentioned, also a recent recruit, a guy that Oliver himself brought into the fold. The last category would be the transfer additions. And all of these guys, obviously, are Oliver guys. None of these guys, the portal wasn't even open by the time that Brett Larson was already in Dinkytown. So all of these guys have joined the Huskies since Oliver has been hired. Lurie, as we mentioned earlier in the show, coming over from Mankato. Jameson Slies, another winger coming over from Western Michigan. Jake Southgate, winger from Lindenwood, veteran guy. William Ulrich, I think we mentioned him already today, from Lake State. Center of that foursome of transfer forwards, I would say Ulrich is maybe the most intriguing there. He probably is like second line center at this point. Among defense for transfers, we've got Finn McLaughlin from the Gophers. And then what's Napier's name from Colgate? I can't remember his first name. Jacob Napier from Colgate. He's the sixth and final defense that I've got listed here. So just looking at the numbers, it's 15 total forwards. That's 6 D and 3 goalies. You mentioned goalies is probably set. We've got the 3 goalies. You really don't need 4 on roster. Defense, you certainly need more than 6. You probably want at least 8, maybe even 9. Last year, St. Cloud made use of 9 defensemen. Now, some of them were like Caleb Thiessen, who played a handful of games before bolting mid-season. Where did he go? Did he go to the ECHL? I think so.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, and then we even mentioned like Belial got into more than a handful of games, but not certainly a regular. So you certainly want to add at least 2 guys and maybe a third for insurance. Among the forwards, you got 15 forwards. You really need to suit up 12 in per game, maybe 1 extra forward. So, I mean, the numbers are fine, I think, from the forwards. But that all adds up. Current guys on roster, you've got 15 forwards, 6 D, 3 goalies. That adds up based on my math and check my math, but that's 24. So, again, I don't think this is another thing that we should get some clarification on. I've been trying to get a clarification on for over a year on whether or not the house settlement, if St. Cloud has opted in or not, that would entail a hard cap of 26 players. They're still under that cap as it is. Typically, St. Cloud has had their complete roster, meaning guys that have been redshirted and most, guys that are usually healthy scratches. Typically, their rosters have been in the 27, 28 range. So there's certainly room historically that more guys should be added before the season. Now, again, if they did opt into house this year and they are capped at 26, that would definitely factor into how many guys they can continue to add here. But they're certainly going to need to add at least 2 more D from my arithmetic here. From the numbers perspective, does that sound right to you, or is that enough forwards for your liking? What are you looking at with this back of the napkin kind of math that I'm doing right now?
Yeah, I think forwards, I believe if everything goes in as you say, I think we're all set. But yeah, 1 or 2 D, I think, is what we are kind of missing here. So we'll kind of see which way that Oliver wants to go with it. If he's, probably has some irons in the fire, so to speak, from probably going on from transfer portal to maybe major juniors to who knows. But yeah, I think we'll probably next month have one or two more names here to kind of talk about.
Yeah, and this obviously too, it depends on if all these guys actually make it. Brown, as I mentioned, I would circle as like a maybe. I would still probably put more likely than not he's going to be wearing cardinal and black this fall. But if you're going to think about potential guys that could drop off this list of 24 that I've got as coming in, I would just look at the Larson recruits, the guys that didn't commit to Oliver. As far as like, we're not counting the 9 returners, because they're going to be returning. They can't enter the portal anymore, so their time to have entered the portal has come and gone. So I wouldn't think those guys are flight risks at this point in the off season. If there are going to be guys that decommit from this group of 24, it would have to be either recruits, the incoming recruits, and of those you got Shantz, Such, and Brown. And then Nolan Stevenson from the Point. So 4 guys right there are guys that committed to Larson, but have not flipped that commit since Oliver has taken the job. So if there is going to be guys maybe have cold feet, I would assume it's going to be one of those.
I just feel, I mean, yeah, maybe you'll have some players that do that, but I just feel now in this day and age with 5 years of eligibility and free reign to transfer, try it out for 1 year and then, you might realize you meet a lot of friends, or there's a lot more aspects that go into it than just on ice. But, so there's, it could be kind of, that's why I'm just kind of looking at like, Carson Pilgrim, reading between the lines or what was explicitly said, was kind of like you in North Dakota wanted him to stay for 1 more year and junior to develop more, and Pilgrim wanted to take the next step. And with the extra year of eligibility, it's like, I don't know. I just feel like you should be more gung-ho about bringing these people in and developing under your wing, under your system, develop those relationships. And then, kind of keep him when it comes to that. I just feel like that situation is a lot more beneficial in the long run versus, and obviously we don't have North Dakota problems. We don't have X amount of first rounders, those blue chip prospects. So maybe there's something to be said, in that situation. But I think from where we are at right now, bring some of these guys in. I don't know if an extra year of cooking for them, if, maybe they don't look at it as having an extra year now. Whereas I still kind of am at this point. So I don't know. I feel, but bring them in, and because I think at that point you should worry more about keeping them. If you want them to stay, the 5 years or 4 years or whatever, how long they can keep, just to keep them in house, and then they sign pro, that's fine. But like, just keep them out of the transfer portal and, trying to make them happy. I think there's that balance now that coaches have to walk that they're not used to walking. And I think having a younger coach is nice for kind of that aspect of having that relationship with and more of a keen understanding of what players are going through versus an old guard, so to speak.
Yeah, and a guy that's had to navigate through the system. I mean, yes, as a assistant at Wisconsin, but I mean, you're an assistant at a Big Ten school. You've got a heavy hand in recruiting, and recruiting nowadays also includes transfer portal. I mean, it's a little bit different. You're not going to junior rinks, but it's a offshoot of the same kind of skill set. And Oliver, proved to be a very good assistant at Wisconsin. They went all the way to the title game this year, gets the St. Cloud job, and he's really hit the ground running. And that's hasn't stopped really since he's taken the job, 6-8 weeks ago at this point. yeah, I think the new rules do play a factor here as well. Like a guy like Wiljanski's, who's going to turn 19 here in a month. So that means his clock is going to start ticking whether or not he comes to St. Cloud. So it's like, I mean, you might as well make as much use for it. I don't think he's a 5-year guy to begin with anyway. He might not be a 3-year guy, but you might as well make use of him once you've got the quote unquote rights to him. You might as well make the most use of that when the clock is ticking. And same goes for guys like Paupanekis, who has a little bit more time on that clock, but still, it's a factor that is different than it was prior to this rule change, and it might force decisions that wouldn't be made without that kind of rule change. And in terms too of guys like Shantz, Such, Brown, these kind of guys that maybe have a decision to make. I'm not saying that there is one imminent, but you look at this roster too, and you got to think this isn't. I'm liking what I'm seeing with this roster. I agree with what you said previous about how you're excited about this roster. But there's opportunities on this roster as well. You've got that Rode, Thorson, Ernest line, which we would probably pencil in, maybe not with pen, but at least with pencil as the top line, just because they are the only returning intact line. They've got a lot of chemistry that they've already developed with this team and in this league. But other than that, I mean, like, what would be your second line right now? I mean, I would probably put Ulrich at center. You know, if you want a guy, I think Southgate's going to be a guy that's going to get some key minutes because he's a veteran presence, and we don't have too many of those on roster. And he put up decent numbers at Lindenwood. So maybe you get like a Ulrich, Southgate. I got to look at like righties and lefties. Southgate, I'm pretty sure, is a left winger. But let's put those two with, I don't know, do you make it an all transfer line? Guy like Slies, again, I don't know their handedness off the top of my head here, but what I'm trying to get at here is it's kind of wide open at this point. There's opportunities for any of these guys we mentioned who are coming in this year, either as a freshman or as a new transfer. There's opportunities not just at top 6 minutes, but special teams, power play unit. There's opportunities aplenty. Now I think we've got a wealth of choices about guys that can step into some of these roles, and it might be the first month or two we're doing tryouts on the fly here, cycling a lot of different guys in to see what clicks and what doesn't. But I think that can be a attractive scenario for someone, like a Nathan Brown or Brock Such, Zach Shantz that we're talking about, where, nothing is really set in stone. And that means that there's competition, open competition with for a lot of different roles in this team. That could be a factor for wanting these guys to stick, even though that those three that I mentioned, Canadian juniors kids who committed to Larson, perhaps this is part of their calculus on why they're sticking with St. Cloud, because, hey, I could go somewhere else, but I think that this is a good opportunity and I could make something of this better than I could anywhere else. So why not give it a chance? So I'm liking how the roster is coming together. It's going to be so different from last year, but I'm excited about it, and we'll get more into that, I suppose, as the season draws closer. But just with the new coach and such, the amount of turnover that we're going to see, it's one of the more intriguing Husky seasons that I can remember. Yeah. And I am looking forward to seeing it. And like I said, I don't think we're quite done with adding guys, even somewhat late in the off season. Still need a couple bodies, especially on the blue line. So we'll see how that goes. Let's move on. And should say, by the way, too, I haven't seen any news, and again, I haven't been the most plugged in over the last month or so about the women's roster. Perhaps that's something that we can maybe touch on next month, when we get some more information on how that roster is coming together. I thought there could be some more transfers or at least some more slots available. I think we kind of did some back of the napkin math at the last show, talking about, how else this roster is going to be supplemented by Yalosuo and company. I haven't seen anything of that nature recently, but the one bit of news that I did tease earlier regarding the women's team, two, I suppose. First, Grace Wolfe gets drafted. I don't know if I think I touched on that. You mentioned like Avery Farrell had put her name and she's, wanting to get drafted, did not get drafted. Grace Wolfe, though, the lone Husky to get drafted in the PWHL draft, goes to New York, where Dale Ross is playing. So perhaps that played a bit of a role there. I'm sure that's an exciting prospect for Wolfe to potentially play again with Dale Ross, defensive partners in some cases, not so long ago for the Huskies. So congrats to Grace Wolfe on getting drafted and, having St. Cloud State players drafted. I don't think it's been every year because we had Himlarova. And then I don't think the second year they had any draftees. Now, and the draft is obviously expanded because the league is expanded here. So, but then last year we had a couple of Huskies drafted. Ross, as you mentioned, Emma Gentry. Any comment on Grace Wolfe getting drafted by the P-Dub?
No, I was really excited. I was watching that obviously when it got to about the 4th or 5th round. I started to tune it a little bit more because that's when it was more likely that she would get drafted. And yeah, she ended up going in the 5th. And it's, out of all the Huskies that put their name in, Farrell, Taylor Lind put her name back into it.
Sure.
And then Sven Yvoked. Obviously out of those 4, you're thinking that Wolfe has, the best chance. And to see that come to fruition, obviously it's another testament. And, she was a jack of all trades here at St. Cloud State. All situations you put her in, obviously scored the lone 1-0 goal against the Gophers in the playoffs to take a 1-0 series lead. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how they kind of use her. It could be more of a third pairing defenseman, defender, is probably what's going to be kind of her role there. But it's, I think she's going to have a solid career because she was a solid player here at St. Cloud State. And iron sharpens iron. I mean, when you're used to going up against the gauntlet of the WCHA, I think it kind of shows her abilities to really. I mean, you looked at the draft too. It's like I would have picked Layla Edwards a little bit earlier, but everyone knows my stance on her. But they as a defender, like if they're actually going to use Layla as a defender, but that's beside the point. It's yeah, I mean, she was put up against hard minutes against great players and that are going to be, big names in the PWHL, and she's already battle tested when it comes to it. So I think she's going to be a solid player there for the New York Sirens.
Indeed, and I teased before we do have a exhibition date scheduled for the Huskies with Bemidji that is in Brainerd, and it's September 19th, which is a Saturday. I don't think you're going to be able to schedule anything sooner than that. So that figures to be the season opener, although obviously it's an exhibition game, so it won't count the standings, but nice to get the rust shaken off. And against an in-state rival in Brainerd in a neutral site. You could go up to that. How about that? That'd be a way to spend your Saturday in September. As far as the other,
I'm already thinking about going to it. Yeah, it's.
I would doubt that that's going to get broadcast by Big Ten Network, or maybe even I don't even know if the radio KVSC would send a crew there. But
I'll
middle
do
of
it.
September, it'd be
Just
do
kidding. No,
do a
there's
Twitter
absolutely-
broadcast.
Yeah,
I think I might pay
just
for that.
like in off campus, I would have the Instagram set up, and I would do the play-by-play there.
You could get a whole like 16 people watching that thing.
Oh my God,
you might
no.
think about it.
There's
You might
no
think
way
about
I'd
it.
get 16 people watching.
That could be like we could.
I don't know if 60 people follow me on Insta.
Well, that for our show, like that's what they call the verticals. I think that's what they call them these days.
Vertical integration.
Correct. Is expanding our content footprint.
Hashtag
Doing some
content.
video to complement the audio. That's kind of the next step for us. But as far as the other bits of the schedule, we've got the conference dates out already. We talked about that previously, but we still are waiting on those non-conference dates. And I'm guessing the arena upgrade is playing a factor in that. Now the men announced their full non-conference slate, and they've got their home opener on the 10th and the 11th of October against Michigan Tech at home. Now that weekend is open for the women. If you're going, so basically they would have because we know that there was going to be a home series somewhere against UConn because they went out to UConn last year. So you're either going to put it now. Sydney Wolfe was speculating that perhaps they could have that played the last weekend in September and have that played at the MAC if the Herb's not going to be ready. I would just say if the men are going to be able to play on the 9th and the 10th of October, why not see if we can schedule that women's series against UConn that same weekend? Now, maybe UConn's schedule doesn't accompany that, but I'm still, that's the one matchup that I know is going to come this year. Other than that, I'm not sure the other two. You'd have room for two other series on the non-conference schedule, and I don't know what they're going to do with those, and we haven't heard anything about them. So I'm waiting patiently for some non-conference dates for the women.
I would love it at the MAC for two reasons, or two main reasons. One, way closer to my house, so
that's a
I
good
wouldn't
reason.
have to drive across town. And two, during Norseman games, they have Pantown beer, which is a local brewery, and I would much rather drink Pantown versus. I mean, I do like a Bell's Two Hearted, so that's which is what
you like to drink local.
But drinking local with Pantone, which like is right in between the Mac and my place, so I could actually go drink Pantown at the Mac, and then on my way home, stop at Pantown Brewery to have a nightcap. So I'm actually all in favor of a game at the Mac.
It sounds like a plan that you've executed in the past.
No, but I just came up with that right now, and I think it's a lovely plan.
It is not a bad idea. Those men's
drink
dates,
responsibly, folks.
The men's non-conference dates touched on Michigan Tech. I'm hoping to be in attendance for those games. I was waiting on this non-conference schedule because likely going to be traveling to.
I miss Michigan Tech. I have talked about that in the past.
Well, and they're supposed to go up to Houghton next year, so 27, 28. I would like to make that trip. Did you ever go to Houghton when they were in the same conference?
Nope.
Yeah, my main traveling days fans was NCHC era, so I missed out just a skosh on WCHA days when Michigan Tech was on the schedule every year. So who knows when they're gonna go up there again. So it would be I've been to Houghton. I just have not been to a game there. It's gorgeous, and it'd be gorgeous if it is going to be in October, which I'm hoping it will be.
Right.
So that, but I'm looking forward to coming back to see the new sparkly renovated Herb in early October. Starting the season, I'm getting ahead of myself with a trip to Bemidji on the Saturday before that, October 3rd. Now, as of now, that return trip for this home and home of Bemidji is on a Wednesday, December 16th in St. Cloud, which is very interesting. That'd be coming off the heels of a Denver home series that previous weekend. So then they're coming back a couple days later, and playing the Beavers on a Wednesday in December for
It's got to be right at finals week, right? Or is that
pretty
right
much,
at,
and it's
even after finals
I
week?
would think that's right leading into it. Yeah, because that's their last game before Christmas break. We've got it because we, in our first talk about that first iteration of our show when I was the host, I remember us talking about would have turned out to be Motzko's last year. Remember, they were going to have, they were doing a similar thing, a split home and home with Mankato.
Yep.
They originally scheduled the Mankato game at St. Cloud to be the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. But then that got changed when, was it the year that St. Cloud got Hockey Day?
Yeah.
I think then they moved that game to Hockey Day with Mankato. St. Cloud lost that game, if I can remember. But I remember at that time, we were trying to think of the last time they had like a midweek game at the Herb. It had been many, many, many years, like early Herb history, like early 90s. So this is a rare occasion. And not having it butt up against like a holiday weekend like Thanksgiving in that case, like this is just a random midweek game in December, middle of December. So I'm wondering how that's going to work. And I'm really wondering how that really came about. I would assume they would have preferred to have just had it back to back on the same weekend, and that the Herb renovation is what caused this. I just don't know why they had to pick a Wednesday rather than just like do it on that Saturday of the week of December, and do it on December 19th on the Saturday rather than Wednesday the 16th. Seems a little strange to me, but that's a quirk, and we like scheduling quirks.
I like the idea of trying a midweek game out. Just seeing. I mean, I don't know about Wednesday, but I don't like you look out east, and most of those are Tuesday games, right?
But obviously, games, there's just a lot more midweek games out east.
Do they mostly do Wednesday games? I guess I always thought it was more Tuesday.
I mean, there's Monday games, there's Tuesday games, there's Wednesday games.
Yeah,
it depends on the week.
I just like giving a shot and trying different things out. Especially, I mean, there's obviously the hot button issue right now with attendance. I don't know if a Wednesday night game will get people there, but I like the idea of just trying something new. You
got like it's an in-state team.
Yeah, exactly.
But they are 2.5 hours away, roughly. Like you think maybe like a
2.5 hour drive,
like a midweek game, in December too. Like that might get a little dicey. You'd think that maybe we do like a St. Thomas midweek game might be like if you're a Bemidji fan, like that's a down and back road trip. On a Wednesday. Like I don't know if that'd be so attractive to do, but it's a data point and see if it's successful. It's just weird because in the West, in college hockey world, this is a rarity. So we'll look forward to that. They also got a schedule. We're talking about like midweek games Thursdays. Like Big Ten plays Thursdays frequently, like almost every week, especially in football season.
Yeah,
because they don't like to play. They like to play a lot of Thursday, Friday series to keep Saturdays open for their football teams. St. Cloud's got a Thursday game on the schedule at Boston College, so that is set right now as a Thursday Saturday series, which is very weird because they still have the football game set for Saturday. Poking around at some internet boards, they're doing some they're inaugurating their new president on the Friday between, which means that they're not going to have the football game on Friday and they're not going to have the hockey game on Friday. So I think the inauguration is at the hockey center. So that means that they possibly could have a football game and that hockey game on the same day on the Saturday. So, which is weird. This won't be the first time. This will be the second time they've gone to play Boston College. And interestingly enough, the one other game that they played there was also on a Thursday. I was in attendance for that one. A 7-rip Husky win. That was a fun
I was going to say, we beat them down, right?
We'll have to do. Don't look it up because we'll have to do the random box score when we go out there this year. because that was like Larson's first couple of games, and that was a beast of a team. Boston College was not very good that year, and it showed. But I think Joe Wall was the goalie for BC that game. I mean, I bet we'd look at that BC roster and recognize some names. They were just a very young team, and St. Cloud was really good that year. So they've already had an experience of kicking ass on a Thursday in Boston. So hopefully we can do that again. Vermont, that's the series that I've got circled, and that's going to be on Thanksgiving weekend, going out to Burlington. So I'm looking at Burlington flights. I'm thinking about making like a 2-week, week and a half, let's say, jaunt, stay the next week and pop off, talking about midweek Eastern games. Schedule's been trickling out. I've got a Sunday game at Dartmouth that I'm looking at. I've got a Tuesday game. You're going to love this. There's a Tuesday game between Sacred Heart at Brown. And I think we're going to go to that one. So I'm going to say there's like a Quinnipiac and Princeton game. That's a possible. Princeton, Quinnipiac. There are 2 series they play that weekend. I was looking at those. There's an Army game I think I might go to. So I'm thinking about going to a bunch of games and just kind of road tripping it for a week. And it's still in the early stages of planning because I'm still waiting on schedules to be dropped, all of them. And they're kind of trickling out. But that has the Vermont trip would be the primary reason to go out there.
You got a chance to see the vaulted Brown. At that point, they might be ranked. I
don't know. I mean, that's that'd be early. It's like December 1st, I think is what it was.
December. No, that voter.
So that's a
jumped
bump
the shark.
in.
But that voter already jumped the shark by then.
The Brown voter would be gone by that point, unless they've won a couple of games, in November. But
that's not going to happen.
Probably not.
I don't know. I know nothing about Brown's roster, but let's face it, that's not.
They got a new coach. Maybe they got the same kind of new sprung optimism based on a new coach taking over. We shall see. And then the last of the non-conference series, home against Fairbanks, New Year's weekend, January 1st and 2nd. So we've seen them somewhat recently. I remember me and you went to a game. That would have been Motzko's last year as well. They won in overtime. That was a great game. And then they played a couple of years ago at the Herb as well. I haven't made a Alaska trip for a while, but the Nooks are coming back to St. Cloud. So, an interesting non-conference schedule. I think it's a better non-conference schedule than last year. You've got trickier games like a Boston College, which, they missed the tournament last year, but they were right on the fringe there. I think they're going to be a decent team. Yeah, they always have good talent.
Which game
Michigan
was
Tech.
that?
Which one?
Which game did we go see?
It was like my last St. Cloud home game before I moved to Oregon. And remember, I was kind of drunk. And we came back. I think it was one of the Palings scored we should do a random box score when that time comes as well. But from my recollection, one of the Palings scored to tie it with it, late in the third. And then they won in overtime. And I made a big deal of that because I had never seen a St. Cloud home overtime win. And that was when 5-on-5 overtime, it was all or nothing. There was no loser point. There was no 55-45, none of that crap. So it really meant it was for all the marbles. And that was a fun game to go to. So that would have been 2017. 17-18 season. I remember that, but I kind of forgot that they came in a couple of years ago too. So they've been back since then, but getting them back on the schedule. So, and they're, Alaska's a decent team. Like probably either them or Lindenwood is, cream of the crop among the independents. Like I said, BC's decent. Michigan Tech has been competitive in CCHA. Vermont's not great, but it's always it'd be a fun trip to scratch off the list. So Bemidji's always, they're settling into like a yearly status, and I almost kind of wish, getting sick of Bemidji a little bit. I wish we could cycle in some Mankato because it seems like it's been
I would like to get Mankato back.
Yeah, maybe recycle the schedule here. And I did hear a birdie that's saying that the Gophers are going to be back on the schedule next year. Which, if that's the case, I'll give Larson some props for not being scared of coming back to St. Cloud so soon. But I think this schedule is a little bit trickier than last year's. I mean, the conference schedule is going to be tough enough as it is. You don't need to make the non-conference a gauntlet in itself, but some teams like Michigan Tech that we haven't seen for a while, and some interesting road trips. So I like how the schedules come together.
Yep, very much so. It's going to be. I like having a little bit of a. I mean, I don't want to say palate cleanser. That's a little bit harsh, especially in the college hockey landscape now. But like I don't know if it was the right strategy, so to speak, to stack the non-conference with like Michigan and teams of that ilk. It's but like you said, we're getting a little bit sick of Bemidji. So some of the news cycles, I like going out east for a trip. One of these days I'll have disposable income. I'll be able to do that, to go be able to actually partake in some of those road trips, but not in the cards as of right now. And the 3 kids, but and 2 of them are now in hockey, so that's going to take up a lot too. So, but I'm I think it's a good schedule, and I'm really looking forward to how this season's going to shape out.
Indeed. One last major news bit to cover this week. That is the hiring of Joe Howe, who is filling out the staff. It was so weird. I think we talked about it. Maybe we touched on it to say that we should talk about it, but we never got around to it. I can't remember, but I know we talked about Eric Rude leaving for Anchorage, taking their head coaching position. And that was like over 2 months ago at this point. And for about 2 months, we didn't hear a peep about St. Cloud's search to replace him on staff. Enga is being retained and Clark Kuster is being retained, but clearly needed to replace Rude, and didn't hear anything until Mike McMahon had included something on one of his newsletters that included Joe Howe's name. Also included this Nick Garuzzi, UConn assistant, who ends up, he got the job that Oliver left in Wisconsin, so he was a hot commodity. Badgers scooped up him, and the Huskies scooped up Joe Howe, who ended this last season. He was Yale's interim head coach. Tricky situation. So Keith Elaine, who won their national title in 2013, that you were in attendance for, correct?
I was in attendance for that one.
You say it so thrillingly with celebrating that Yale win, the national title in 2013.
It was just... I was just not excited for that championship game. I mean, obviously, St. Cloud State losing didn't help. But I mean, 2 ECAC teams, Quinnipiac.
So were you?
Yale,
do you remember? Were you rooting for Yale because Quinnipiac beat St. Cloud, or
no?
So were you rooting for Quinnipiac?
I just didn't really care. I wanted an entertaining game, and I didn't get one. I think that was the big thing. I'm actually more of the ilk of, if you knock my team out within certain restrictions, obviously, North Dakota excluded, I want you to win because that looks better upon me. The last thing I want to be is the team that lost to 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 the team that won the Stanley Cup. It's like you're like the biggest loser of anyone who made the playoffs. I think I had one too many rounds in there, but you know what I mean. Yeah, so it's like if we lose in the first round, but that person becomes the champions. And for years, that was the Minnesota Wild. Like when the Blackhawks went on their run, it's like, for all we know, I can stake a claim that we were the second best team in the NHL that season. We just happened to play them first, So it's, So at that point, I was like, hey, if Quinnipiac wins, there's at least that's, something to wash that bad, at least first 10 minutes out of that game out of my mouth, because that was not pretty. But yeah, it was just like I just wanted an entertaining game. I hope it was, and it just wasn't. I can't even remember. It was like a 4-1 game, I think. I don't know.
I think it was 4-0, but yeah, it was.
Yeah.
There was no highlight of that game that still is played at any point. So anyway, that was Keith Elaine who coached that team. He retired before last season, sort of late in the off season. And then like McMahon and others have written about some problems with Yale's athletic department, some dysfunction, sounds like. AD kind of sounds like a loose cannon. So Howe was hired as sort of an emergency interim basis. And he got an interview to retain the job full time. But then they pivoted to Jeff Hamilton. So Howe was a free agent, so to speak. Especially with Rude leaving, not late in the offseason. He got hired in April, but not something that St. Cloud is necessarily planning on, hiring a new assistant coach this year. And then you had Oliver's hiring as head coach. So a lot of things in the scramble to sort of rebuild this roster. So I don't know how much of a priority getting a new assistant hired was, but it is a priority of some import. And to get a guy that was not only has head coaching experience, but very recent head coaching experience, just last year, St. Cloud in fact would have played against Howe and Yale at the Cactus Cup in Palm Springs this past year. St. Cloud beat them in that game. And so a guy that
Cactus Cup
champions. I haven't heard a new iteration of that tournament yet. They haven't announced if it's coming back, and I would not be surprised if it doesn't, based on the paltry turnout that I saw last year. But anyway. So getting a guy and Yale was not good last year. Right? It's no sugarcoating it. 8 wins for Joe Howe, but considering the amount of dysfunction that Yale's athletic department has had in the last couple of years, difficult situation he was thrust into. It's not something that he could really have recruited a fresh roster the way that Nick Oliver was able to this year. I think he made the most of a bad situation, and I think gained some important experience as being a head coach of a program. So I think that's a good hire. If you're going to hire an assistant coach in June, getting a guy that's got fresh head coaching experience, I think that's as good as you can get. CC alum, which is a theme for St. Cloud's staffs. That's Enga. That's his alma mater. That was Rude's alma mater. He gone, apparently, or as we mentioned. So that must run in the water.
He's a goalie.
St. Cloud. He was a goalie.
And they're weird. So we're gonna get a little bit weird on our staff. But also had some assistant coach with Denver.
Correct.
As well as Fairbanks. So I think this is I think as far as assistant coach, alternate coach, anything along those lines, whatever title that we're going to give, huge. I think this is a big win, and I think for picking the staff and Joe, able to come home a little bit as well. I bet he's really excited too. So I was when I saw that come across, I was like, hey, all right, this is a really good selection. So it's more optimism I have for this for the future of Huskies hockey.
Yeah, we were trying to think like what kind of coach type would you want as a replacement? Would you want to go like a younger guy? And we've mentioned the name Spencer Meyer, who I think sooner or later is going to have he's got coaching, I think, in his future if he wants it. Someone like that, more of a fresh recently played at the college level type, or more of the veteran type, more like the Dave Shayak, who's been around the block. This is kind of like, a happy medium between the two, because Howe's young. He's 36, so he's in the Nick Oliver range, mid 30s, but he's also got, as
I have called him a sieve in the past. So
I think he played. He would have been in the NCHC era playing for CC, I believe. First couple of years of the NCHC, I think 2013, 2014. I'm gonna say is. I mean, if he's roughly the age of Oliver, that would seem right, because Oliver played in the NCHC. So I mean, they're not. They've got experience playing in the league as well as coaching in the league, and so it's a good kind of mix of both kind of different coaching types. And who knows if Howe is here for the long term, in terms of like a guy like Shayak was here for 5-6 years, or if he's going to use this as more of like an Eric Rude, where I want a head coaching job again at some point. But either way, I think St. Cloud will be able to use Joe Howe's experience and knowledge to their benefit. Excited to see a name that I recognized, and when I saw the news, I was pleased, let's say. So welcome aboard, and that rounds out the coaching staff. Now we just got to round out the last parts of the roster, and we've got a Husky team to root for.
Do you want a oh wait, no, hold on one second. Random box score.
I think we do. What I didn't even know what time we're at. Oh, we're not at 1.5 yet. I figured we were like close to 2. Yeah, no, bring it on.
No, all right.
We got a Joe Howe. We got a Joe Howe box
we score. Do. Joe Howe's last game at the National Hockey Center.
Okay, I'm just. What's the year? I'm going to say the 2013-2014 season.
2012-2013 season. So he did not play in the NCHC.
Okay, so I'm wrong about that. All right. Yep. So 12-13.
Yep. So it's the 12-13 roster, which was pretty good, if you remember. St. Cloud State wins at home against Colorado College on December 14th, 2012. I don't have any referees listed. That's kind of interesting. I just have the assistant referee.
We'll just say it was Marco Hunt.
5-3.
Because this would have been a WCHA game.
Yep. 5-3 win for the Huskies. Joe Howe gives up 4 goals on 24 shots, and then we got 1 empty netter at the 1940 mark.
So we're looking at goals for St. Cloud?
Goals for St. Cloud.
You're going to be like, well, how do you remember this? But I was in San Antonio, Texas, when this series was going on.
How do you remember that?
Because between 2007 and 2017, I missed like 3 home games, and this was one series.
And this was one of them.
So those, I do remember those. So I can't even. It will make this more difficult, because I would have listened to this on the radio. Yeah. This would I would not. This is way before NCHC. It was before the NCHC started. Obviously, it was way before NCHC TV. So I didn't stream this. I would have been listening to this, like on my phone.
I will say, all forwards, there are no surprises.
So I'll start with LeBlanc. He won the Hobie that year.
No, okay, no.
So okay,
but he did have 2 assists.
Let's go with Hanowski.
No Hanowski.
No Hanowski.
1 assist.
Let's go with Johnny Brodzinski.
Johnny Brodzinski from Drew LeBlanc. First goal. Huskies were down 2-rip.
Really?
Late.
Was this the Friday or the Saturday game?
This was Friday. And they were down with about 5 minutes left to go in the second. They were down 2-rip, and they ended up scoring.
Is this like the Jaden Schwartz CC Tiger teams? A couple of Schwartzes, I think, were on those teams.
No. This Rapuzzi, Taft. There was a Schwartz. There was a Ryland Schwartz.
Okay, I know they had a couple of Schwartz in this era. They weren't a terrible team then. Like it's it's weird to think, like, because they've been garbage for so long, but I think they were decent. I think they went to the WCHA title game this year, the last one.
Yep, the last one they did.
So, all right. So 2012, Dowd.
He had the empty netter. Yep. Dowd from Nick Jensen at 1940 in the third.
So I got 2 of the 5. Were there any multiple goal scorers?
Correct. Yes. 1 multi.
Defense or forward?
Both forward.
Obvious, you're saying.
I mean, obvious in the realm of St. Cloud State. One of them I mentioned last month on the pod with the head injuries.
Not helping. Head injury.
I'm sorry. Allegedly head injuries. I should say that I never confirmed it was concussion, but it was probably concussion related injuries. Kosela was one. Yep. From Nick Jensen and Johnny Brodzinski. That was not the one I'm talking about with the head injuries, alleged head injuries. He only had 1. The other one had 2.
Oh man. Oh, David Morley.
David Morley. There you go.
The head injury is what tipped me off. I don't know why I took that long.
Alleged head injuries. Dave Morley from Nick Dowd and Taylor Johnson. And then Dave Morley from Ben Hanowski and Drew LeBlanc. And then Kosela from Jensen and Brodzinski. Morley second and Kosela both on the power play. Rapuzzi had the first goal in the first period, shorthanded extra attacker. So they must...
it's like on a delayed penalty?
On a delayed penalty while shorthanded, pulled to make it even strength to get the goal.
So if this was the Friday game, he said this is Joe Howe's last game in St. Cloud. So that means they had another guy start on Saturday.
Yep. They had...
I should know this. I should know who their other goalie was.
No, I don't think you should.
It's not a name that rings a bell for you. Nope. What is it then?
Josh Thornbert?
Yeah, I never would have. I thought maybe they had like a goalie tandem, like a platoon situation. So Howe was like the bulk starter that year for them.
Yeah. Kosela from Gravel and Prow, Hanowski from Dowd and Prochnow, and then Brodzinski from Prochnow and LeBlanc. 3-1 victory.
God, Prow. I mean, talk about like defense. We're talking about the defensive core this year, which I'm excited for, even though I still think we're going to need a couple of extra bodies to supplement that group. But especially in comparison to last year, I mean, Henrik's notwithstanding, I think I'd take this group, even though there's a lot more unknowns versus the group that we had last year. Which again, yeah, you can say that Henrik's not being part of that is like the biggest loss you can think of, but maybe I'm just thinking that because Henrik's wasn't a part of most of the year last year, just playing about 12 games or whatever. But then you're rattling off these names we're talking about for that 12-13 team: Gravel, Prow, Prochnow, Jensen. Just a stacked defensive roster, and that makes me smile. But exactly. Yeah, that was a good team. Those were good memories.
So that was his last trip at the Herb. His last game, though, because we went there first, and then we came back, or they were here first, and then we went out there. So his last game against St. Cloud State, he got pulled. He let in 4 goals on 17 shots.
And it was that Thornburg or whatever that took over for him?
Yep, and that was Thornburg that took over, and he allowed 1 goal on 4 shots. So
I think St. Cloud lost the other game that series in overtime, and that was a killer. Because I think St. Cloud had a lead in that other game. And again, this is when overtime meant a lot. I remember. I mean,
you're incredibly, incredibly good, but incredibly close. So you weren't entirely true, but I'm still going to give you all the props in the world because yes, we had a 2-rip game in the first, but they scored 4 unanswered.
So it wasn't overtime,
and it wasn't overtime, and then we made it close. On a extra attacker goal with about a minute left to go in the game, but we couldn't get to the equalizer. We lost 4-3 in regulation.
I just knew there was a blown lead
Yep.
But I yes, sometimes the mind. But that year probably has more memories than most years.
Sure.
That was a special year. Like I don't have as many fond memories of the 2019-2020 season, for instance, or the 2008-2009 team.
Mhm.
Those are more nondescript. But that one of most years, that one definitely does stick more than most.
So do you want to go with the one he got pulled? So welcome,
Sure.
by
I mean,
the way,
again,
Joe Howe.
my guesses are mostly going to be the same. I mean, are there any players that we haven't mentioned already in this bit?
Yes.
Corey Thorson.
Corey Thorson. Good job.
Did I snag that?
Yep. From Ethan Prow. And do you want to take a stab who that second guess is?
Just give me initials at this point.
N-O.
Nick Oliver.
Nick Oliver with the
there
second
we go.
assist. Brodzinski from LeBlanc and Prochnow. Kosela from Prochnow and Brodzinski. Corey Thorson from Prow and Oliver. Hanowski from LeBlanc and Jensen. And the last one, his second goal of the season on February 23rd.
Again, give me initials.
Oh, this is a big one.
A big one that we haven't mentioned yet.
Big one that we haven't mentioned. Think there's a hint in there. It was only his second goal.
Raby?
And it was February 23rd because he was injured the first half of the year.
Oh. God, was Bennick on that team?
Bennick was on that team. He was like the big catapult because I remember
his career at my years, like I can't I'd never think that he's on that 12-13.
Because Penticton was absolutely amazing the year before, and in training camp, like four guys, or not
broke
training
his leg,
camp,
right?
Yeah, he broke his leg, but like three other people that played for Penticton also got injured that played on their respective colleges team, like before the season started.
I don't remember that. It's cursed.
Yeah, it was. And I remember too, because Nate Wells on Twitter joked that like two of them went down and Bennick didn't go down yet because he went down in practice. And I remember him tweeting out, somebody wrap Joey Bennick up in bubble wrap. And I tweeted back, I'm on it. And then next practice, he went down with a broken leg.
So you failed in your mission.
And I failed. 100% failed. Just, but I remember Motzko on his radio show was talking about how there was a lot of talk about what do we do? It's like, we've got this team here. We can make a run. And at that time too, even though we were incredibly stacked, when it came to like the lineup and everything, like we were still a little bit on the bubble.
Oh, sure. I mean, that 11-12 team was not that was not a great team. I mean, there's a lot of good talent on that team, but they barely got into the home ice positions. They were a middle of the pack team. No one was picking them to be first place coming into that season. So yeah, in your perspective, it's either you redshirt him, get a whole another year from him, or bring him back and get a half season out of him.
Yeah. Yeah, because so like even though we won the championship that year, or won the WCA, like we were
tied.
Tied, yes. Okay.
Thanks Patolny.
Patolny and his minivan. But like through the pairwise didn't love us at that point, and we were
because they were terrible in non-conference.
We were terrible because again, that Northern Michigan, we got swept against Northern Michigan, and we were kind of on the bubble. We were on the good side of the bubble, but there was still an outside chance that we would be out there. And when Bennett got healthy, I remember Motzko on his radio show was saying, said that there was kind of a heated discussion. Do we redshirt him? Or do we put him in the lineup and make a run on the second half? So they decided, okay, let's get him in there, make a run. And that just bolstered our depth. I mean, I think
what was his stat line for that year?
Bannock's stat line. Let me check that because I think he still scored like 8 goals that year. Yeah, 8 goals.
Really?
Yeah, 8 goals.
And how many games?
For 24.
Yeah, so half a season, and that's for freshmen. Yep, for a freshman that's coming back from a broken leg.
And again, I mean, we have LeBlanc, Dowd, Brodzinski, Kosela, Hanowski. I mean, you're getting 8 goals from a third, fourth liner, and I think he was on the line with Thorson. I think Morley was kind of rotating in there.
Right.
Birch was kind of in there. Holka was in there a little bit. But
all the names,
right? So I mean, So it's like again, but with Bennick center depth, that's what we kind of go back to is that's how important Bennick was during that stretch run, and it turned out to be obviously the right call because that really pushed them over the edge and was able to make the Frozen Four that year. And
coming full circle, like that sort of big debate would be non-existent now because there's no red shirts, and
exactly
there wouldn't be any sort of in the plus column we got this, we get the extra year, none of that. It's all academic now because it's you get the 5 years and red shirt if you want, but it doesn't even matter what you tab them as. You just got them or you don't. Play them or they don't. The clock is always ticking no matter what. So I guess that's
like a Hitchcock. I don't know. That sounds like a Hitchcock type of the clock is always ticking. It sounds like definitely a suspense type line that he would use.
Very well could be. I think he might.
Are you a Hitchcock fan? I guess I don't even know. Like, have you watched a lot of Hitchcock movies or like?
He's prolific. I mean, he made like 20 movies before the first one that you ever heard of. Like he made silent movies. So I mean, I've probably seen 10 to 15 of his, but they're all kind of the mainstream ones. I can't say that I've gotten into the obscure Hitchcock, but yeah,
it's still quite a bit of Hitchcock. I don't know. I've only kind of seen the heavy hitters, really, so to speak. So,
what's your favorite?
I don't know.
Album?
I mean, like I said, I've only seen the heavy hitters, so it's maybe a little bit cliche. But I go with Rear Window.
It's a good one,
but it's like to me, I think Rear Window just has everything you need in it. I think it's got for the premise of it, and the there's still like plenty of twists and turns when it comes out, and also you got Grace Kelly, and Grace Kelly I'm a big fan. So I liked Vertigo, but I needed like 2 or 3 watches to really understand Vertigo. But like some of the other ones I haven't seen. Like I haven't seen North by Northwest. So
that one's up there. I probably would say that might be my favorite. I have a big soft spot for Psycho because it's a very weird movie. It shouldn't work as a movie. Have you seen Psycho? Is that one of the ones that you've seen?
Not all of it in its entire. Like I've seen bits and pieces of it. Like I probably have seen the whole movie just in
structured so wrong. I mean, it's like 45 minutes and then it completely turns into a different movie. And it is more of a B film, but I think it's a great one. North by Northwest, if you're going to put a gun to my head, keeping with the Hitchcock theme, that probably would be my favorite. But it's good. It sounds like
I
you've
thought
got
the
some other ones
Birds was really
campy,
and I don't know if that was the point.
I don't love the Birds. Yeah, it's not great.
But so. I did have a couple of questions.
Okay.
One, Dan Jacobson asked if we're watching the World Cup. So are you watching the World Cup at all? Are you involved?
Not a minute. I think we've been over this in the past. I've given soccer several opportunities and it's just not for me. And I know.
You're going to hop on the bandwagon or you're just sworn off
No,
it.
I have
USA's in the
0.
round of 32. They've got a game against Bosnia Herzegovina. You're just
No, I'm 40. I know what I like. I don't need to try new things anymore.
Don't need to try new. All right. Now, what is the ceiling?
Have you been watching World Cup? Come on, you gotta.
Oh, sure. I suppose I can answer.
It's not all about me.
Oh yeah, definitely. I've been watching the World Cup. I like soccer though. I really don't like them trying to Americanize soccer.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like big
Powers
America.
that be.
Yeah, just I like I feel like it's one of the ultimate kind of team games. I think it's like so many things have to, in the constant motion of it, even though it's the slower pace, but at the same time, like there's always like people making runs, but everyone has to be on the same page of where the ball's going and just some of the skills that, you know, these players have. Yeah, I've been watching. It's been really entertaining. There's been a lot of surprise, upsets that's happened. My girlfriend team is the Netherlands, and they got eliminated, but they played like they should get eliminated. So I guess that's fair. But it's I've been really enjoying it, and we'll see what the USA does, and hopefully they can get to the round of 16.
Indeed.
So, and then right now, if I don't know if it's too early for predictions, but do you have a ceiling and a floor for this team? This is from Clint.
Yeah, it's early because, like we've mentioned, we just don't have the full roster yet, and then you have to put it into context with the rest of the league. But just as a starting point, like
I'm saying, ceiling is 4.
So, meaning the 3 teams that they absolutely cannot place higher than Denver, North Dakota, and Western.
No,
or
Minnesota,
Duluth in that.
Yep.
Other than Western,
I would say we could fight with Western.
So 4th, meaning who's your 1, 2, and 3? It doesn't need to be in any order, but Denver, North Dakota,
North Dakota, and Minnesota, Duluth.
Okay. I mean, I'm not going to fight too much with that. I would certainly put, however the rest of the offseason goes, I think you're clear of Omaha. I think they're the clear number 9 at this point. 10.
10 now.
I got to get used to that.
Right.
So I don't think they're going to be last place. But and I think the bottom of the league, I mean, you've got teams like Miami's young. Yeah, they showed some pluck last year, and Mrazov just got drafted in the first round, and Lurie looks like he's doing something good there. CC, I've always sort of sold on them. I feel like their expectations are higher than what they deserve to be. Arizona State's kind of like a boomer bust team, and 2 years ago they kind of boomed into second place, and last year they busted like flat on their face and finished last. So too volatile of a team for me to like be confident in. I think he can place higher than them. So yeah, 4th seems about right for a ceiling, maybe 3rd. That's shocker. I'm less of a
you're less of a
fan of
Minnesota,
Duluth than you are. Denver is going to be really tough, and I think North Dakota looks great with their oncoming freshmen. So those 2 teams look to be the cream of the crop for sure. But I'd say the floor is higher, certainly higher than it was last year. So because last year, look at the end of the first half, like that first Denver home game where they got spanked and Shostak got pulled like the first 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, this could be a last place team. Now they righted the ship the next game and played well for stretches there in the second half of the season. And I think they probably overachieved a little bit at 5th place, but I thought that last year could have been something where there was a couple of forks in the road that if you took the wrong fork, you could have crashed and burned. I don't think that's, again, maybe we're too Kool-Aid drinking here, but I don't think that's really in play.
Well,
I think
it's the Huskies hockey podcast. I don't.
We've got to be on brand to some extent. So I'll say, with the 10-team league, I'll say 3rd to 7th.
Okay,
that's my range. 3rd to 6th. St. Thomas. I mean, I don't know if St. Thomas is going to make the transition.
I don't know. We got 4 games against them, and for some reason, as of late, they've been a thorn in our side.
Hawk Huff, also Turncoat. Again, we still have a little bit of time here. This is maybe too early to think this too, but in terms of like this team as it is versus let's play with the hypothetical if Larson didn't leave. So, I mean, Gross was already gone. He left before the Larson news came out. So he was gone anyway. But you have to think like the guys that left because of Larson. That's Brnovic, Hall, Henriks, and Loftus. And then it probably is fair to lump Werner Miettinen into that group. Would you think that if Larson was still here, Miettinen would still be here? I think that he seemed to dither a little bit after the coaching move. There was some reporting that he's going to stay, and then he ends up leaving. I think it's a better chance that he would have stuck around if Larson was still here. And I think his departure was ultimately what made the decision for him. So that's debatable, but we can maybe put that in that camp as well. Hawk Huff, I had to look this up. Huff decommits after Larson leaves, but then he goes to St. Thomas.
Yeah.
If he would have gone to the Gophers, that would have been a explicitly tied to Larson move. I can't put him in the group of players that would have been here if Larson is still here because clearly he was not tied to Larson because he decommitted and went to somewhere else a team that Brett Larson did not coach. So that might not have anything to do with Larson at all. So at most, we've got the 5 players there that Larson would have had. And he had some of those minor recruits, was like this Joe McGraw, who had committed late to Larson and then decommitted. I think Lowell picked him up. You can, again, those sort of secondary recruits, you can throw that in the bucket. So, I mean, you've got the guys that we know, like the guys like Brnovic and Hall, and especially like Henriks and Loftus, we got to know pretty well last year as well. I mean, those are known commodities to a degree, and we like those players. Those are core players for this team. So you don't have that sort of known quantity with this group of players that we have replacing those guys. And there's not an easy way to replace, well, this guy replaces Brnovic and that's our Loftus replacement. It's too difficult to do that. And I don't think it's useful to do that. But I don't know. What I'm getting at is I think that I'd rather roll the dice with this group and a new coaching staff. Because I don't feel like, I think that if we're talking about like ceilings and floors, I don't think that the ceiling was noticeably higher with Larson still around, with the status quo of last year, with Larson and all the players that,
I mean, we had 3 years of underperformance with Larson, right?
Right. And last year was somewhat of a surprise, at least offensively. That was coming off the 24-25 season, which was like historically a terrible offense. So that was the gross success story, and to another extent, like the Brnovic and Hall continued development. That was sort of a result of a much improved offense from one year to the next. But like I said, and I was excited to see we'll never know how that would have played out if Larson was still around and didn't have the coaching change, and all those guys I just mentioned were still in Cardinal and Black. Can't do that that alternate reality. can't play that simulation, so to speak. But I just don't know, especially with defense, which is still the biggest question mark for this team.
Yeah.
I mean, because we still don't even have a full unit. It might hinge on that. And we have more question marks offensively with this group than we would have had with the Brnovics and Hall if they were to have returned. So I don't know. I feel like there's more of a possibility that this group can surprise in a pleasant way. And maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know. It's something about I did think that we touched on this over the last couple of years. It was just getting a little stale with Larson. And maybe that's just the biggest thing for me, is that I'm just more rejuvenated to see what Oliver can do. And I'm really getting excited with the kind of recruits that he's already been able. Like, I wasn't expecting him to get third round draft picks to come aboard here in the interim from him taking the job. Guys that we're thinking are going to be able to come in this fall. Like that quick the quick results that he's been able to get recruiting. I don't know if I was expecting that. Maybe I should have, but this is all just to say that I'm pretty excited with the direction this program is going. Even if this means that this is going to be a rebuilding year, I'm not sure it's noticeably better than what an alternate Larson reality would have played out to be, I guess is what I'm saying.
Right. And I think that's kind of the biggest thing of how to look at this, is that it's going to be easy to see the success that the Gophers may have this season and look at that as, oh, the Huskies could have had that, when it's not exactly the end game, considering of what you're talking about with the floor to ceiling of, where would the Huskies, where would their ceiling be along the same ranks of the NCHC versus, where would the ceiling be in 3 years? As of right now, with the path that we're on, I feel like we've got a really high ceiling over the next couple of years. Like I said, I like the direction that this program is going. Whereas, who knows with Larson, where that would be at. But it's easy just to see, Benovic's going to shoot off one-timers in the Gophers, and it's going to get all the praise. And it's like, I remember when that was us. But it's, it'll be just interesting to see over the next couple of years how this program is going to change. Because like you said, yeah, it got stale. We had 3 straight years of Larson not doing very well. And yeah, it got stale, it got sick of it. And it'll be kind of interesting to see kind of where everything is going to end up going. But I do think that the trajectory here, it's something that I'm really excited for.
Yeah, certainly long term. We're talking like a 3 or 4 year plan. Much prefer the path that we're on with Oliver to Larson. Because I don't, Larson in St. Cloud, maybe the more resources in Dinkytown is going to be the trick for him to turn it around on his coaching record. But I think him in St. Cloud, I don't see like Penrose competition. I don't think that was really going to be in the stars the next couple of years. With Oliver, I feel like the future is especially bright. I'm more sure about the future with Larson than I am, with Oliver, I should say, than I am about this upcoming year. That was always kind of the one thing I was willing to sacrifice. But the more of these pieces come into play that we think are going to come this fall, the Paupanekises and the Oljanskis, and even some of the ones that don't have 7-syllable names, it's making me more excited just for the very short term, which again was not really on my bingo board. It really wasn't on my something that you really needed to do this year as part of your mission. But if you do that, that just again reinforces what it shouldn't dictate, or it shouldn't be the ultimate judge on how the Oliver hire was. But if he exceeds expectations this first year, it's going to put me into a place where I'm like, yeah, I'm really getting excited about this future. So yeah, it's in the summer months, we're not in hockey season. We're in soccer season for some of us. But it's nice to get reminded of what we've got on deck, and we're T-minus 2.5 months basically until we get Husky hockey with that women's game up in Brainerd that you might be going to.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I mean, it's never too early to get hyped about this coming season. With women's teams, we've been through that personnel change last year, and there's still some upward momentum that's to be had with them. Didn't feel like we gave the women short shrift this week or this month for this show. Maybe next show we can make up for that with some hype on the women's side.
I just haven't seen any news. Like, as far as anything more when it comes to schedule or staff,
giving a schedule, and I think there's still some roster spots to fill out as well. So yeah, hopefully we'll get some more info to pass on with that. We can maybe do a back of the napkin math with how the roster's shaping up there. But we're glad to have gotten the June show in, even though it's at very last minute. But that should do it. We're at the 2-hour mark, so this is a quickie for us. So, any last words from Weldie?
No, but I kind of like the sidekick role. Next, if we do officially change to Cloud Coverage Podcast, maybe I can sit here. It's we're
gonna do another rebrand, another on the fly rebrand. We could divvy up the host role more frequently. It could be a back and forth kind of thing. I'd be open to that, but I would have to have access to the button board. There was a couple of 9s that I hope that you can fill in on post production.
Well, Riverside changed, so now I don't know if it's live or if I have to do something else, or so they'll be added in post. That's for sure.
We'll make sure. We don't want to let down our several fans with getting something that's not up to our regular high standards. But hopefully you put up with us for this month. Weldie, people can find you
at More Clappers, MOAR More Clappers.
Can find me, Andrew, at Andrew SSU HHP. Also, the aforementioned Cloud Coverage Hockey.substack.com. The last and final piece in the coaching changes series, I guess is what we're calling it, should be out in the next week or two. I know it's been too long, but it's been my time has been heavily occupied the last couple of weeks. Less occupied now, but apologies for making you wait on that. But we will get a show out sometime in the month of July, we promise, and apologize for being so late in the June podcast, but hopefully you enjoyed it. And until next time, go Huskies. Woo!